Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Are you familiar with our network?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah.
No, never. What you do in that room in our apartment is a mystery. I've never been in there. It smells like a dungeon.
Yeah, it functions like a dungeon, too. I feel like I'm in a dungeon. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Hana Michels, and I've been informed this is the first topless version of the podcast.
And
I live here. It's fine.
We just watched Bring Her Back. A very sexy movie indeed.
Is this their new sister and brother, Oliver? Oliver lost his family just like you guys. Needed someone that could give him special care. Listen, I gotta tell you a secret.
Very sexy. Did not haunt me.
Yeah. So, before we get started, you first of all, thank you for being here. We had quite an adventure seeing this movie, which we'll have to talk about.
We will.
But you have to plug some stuff first at the top of this.
Yes. So my socials are all either, if it's for my day job, it's like Spark Creative Coaching, Spark Life Coaching, anything like that. And my other socials are just my name, HANAMICHELS. They will all be mentioning a seminar I'm doing on Sundays starting mid-July, in which I'm going to help people kind of reconnect to their creative voice and reconnect to whatever artistic medium or connect to a new one, and whatever projects you may want to start coming up may emanate from there.
And when is this again?
This is starting July 13th. At all the sessions will be at noon PST on Sundays.
Is there a link or anything?
There is, and they will be on all those socials consistently.
So go to your socials.
Go to my socials or go to Humanitics or the Tools website, thetoolsbook.com, and go to live events. Any of those.
Okay. I think that's important. I think right now, especially, it's very hard for people to feel creative.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know.
It's
Everybody
also
check that out.
I keep getting clients, and then, our economy sucks. So people keep seeking me out for this in particular because this is what I'm best at.
That's your jam.
And then they can't afford it. So you're basically paying for the cost of like maybe 2.5 sessions or 3 sessions and getting twice the length of session and 6 of them. So,
yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be with a group, but we're going to foster a good environment.
Yeah.
For sure.
That sounds chill. Everybody check it out. You will probably not be topless for that one.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think I would charge more.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah.
So all right, let's talk about child abuse.
Yep.
Advanced child abuse.
Advanced child abuse.
Bring Her Back. We were originally, so if anybody knows you, they know that you're a big I Think You Should Leave fan. So we were gonna do Friendship.
Yeah.
Like obviously.
We were. I was very excited to watch it.
Right. That said, this was like a big thing this weekend too, and this is Bring Her Back. I covered this director's their first film because I think there's 2 of them. Talk to Me, which I still want you to see, but that's all to say we went to the AMC to go see Friendship, and the AMC had been evacuated because some dildo pulled the fire alarm, it seems like.
Yeah, at Universal City Walk, this is important.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a lot of 1,000-yard stares from the ushers. They had clearly been through some shit.
Yeah.
And they were just handing out those free ticket, like, what are they? Little vouchers left and right. So that's all to say. We came up on top of this, but we had to change our plans to basically that showing had been canceled. And so we saw this instead.
Yeah, and great date night movie, first off. We had dinner reservations as well. This was we were not at all haunted at that table. We did make it, though.
I know. I was thinking this, too, where I was like, we made it a date night, and we were going to the Chocolate Emporium after. For who people don't know, I mean, most people don't know, it's like a City Walk restaurant that's just a diabetes bar.
Yeah.
None of this has to do with the movie, and I'm sorry, but... And so it was like, this will be fun. We'll see a fun comedy. We'll go have some drinks at the... Yeah, and then it was just like this instead, which changed the mood less than you'd think.
Yeah.
But, anyway, I haven't really talked to you about this film, including the question, did you like this movie, Bring Her Back?
I did, but it left me with... questions I think it meant to leave me with, and questions I don't think it meant to leave me with. But overall, yes, I liked it. It impacted me in ways that I was not expecting. It upset me, but I'm kind of, any emotional response I can get from a piece of art is great.
Yeah. Let me say, like, I'm not rock hard. I'm not rock hard when it comes to horror movies. No, I'm not like made of stone. That's the word. But this movie, like, I've seen a lot of horror movies, is my point. This movie did rattle me too, which I was surprised. I didn't expect it to. It gave me some gut dread. It made me flinch. It made me actually look away and go like, oh, fuck, like that. And it just... deep feelings of dread and sadness. It's interesting. So we should talk about the movie a bit, because like, I think if people haven't watched, I just watched a teaser, so I didn't know what it was about. Not really, but it stars, I would say it stars Sally Hawkins. She's the fish fucker. You know the fish fucker, hun?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's where I recognized her
She
from.
fucks fish. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's I do have some questions as to whether or not that fish could consent, as people who have followed my socials or seen my stand up know. Just because it understands egg.
Right. I think most fish understand egg.
Yeah.
That's like the first thing they understand. We're talking about The Shape of Water. But yeah. So it stars her as like, well, it starts with a young boy and a teenage boy and his sister, who is partially blind, and their father has what appears to be an OD in the shower, and they have to go live with a foster home, and that's this lady, Sally Hawkins, who is a bit weird. She only wants the girl. Mm-hmm. And then she like settles for also having the boy, and it's very clear that she doesn't really want the boy there. And she has another kid, Oliver, who seems not all there.
Yeah,
he's a bit creepy, and you can't really tell what's going on. And what we learn, I'm going to spoil the movie, I guess, because that's what we do on this show, is that she also had a dead blind daughter, and she is trying to go through a process to resurrect her daughter. And so this lady is just, she just slowly like unravels, basically.
Yeah.
This is all to say that like one of the things that made this movie so difficult for me personally is that like the process in which she's bringing this person back is obviously like supernatural.
Yeah.
But the dread of the movie really just comes from her
Yeah.
being just terrifying.
And it comes from things that real foster parents have done when they've lost a child, like real adoptive parents have done. They try to replace their child. It comes from real abuse cases that have happened. So the dread really, I mean, the supernatural stuff makes it.
It's almost incidental because, like, there's literally a part where she says to the girl, the sister, whose name was, I think,
Piper?
Oh, Piper, thank you. She says, like, because the idea is the brother, whose name is Andy, is like, I'm going to be 18 in a few months, and then we're out of here. I'm going to get my own place.
I'm going to petition for custody.
Yeah, and I don't. And it seems like everybody, you know, that's going to happen, right? That's an inevitability. It seems like he'll get that, but she takes Piper aside, Sally Hawkins, whose name Laura, and she says, like, do you think maybe even in a few months you'll stay with me? And Piper's like, no, but we'll visit you. And you get the sense that in that moment she's like considering not doing the ritual and just doing what you're describing, which is like, if you lived with me, that would be enough. You know, I don't have to put the soul of my dead daughter into you.
See, I thought, to me at that moment, she was crestfallen because she was like, well, now I have to kill your brother.
Oh, that's definitely part of it, yes. But I think I got the impression that at a certain point, so like a lot of this movie is about this one woman's grieving process.
Yeah.
And listen, she's not taking it well. It's safe to say. And she's not a good woman too. Like we were talking, the one thing we were talking about is, so Ollie, the little kid, who's there, who's all creepy. What we learn is, like, through a series of, I looked it up. It's Russian. They're speaking Russian.
That's what I thought.
Okay, yeah.
And I was trying to trace that back too, because I know this is referencing real cult horror films and real cults, and I could not remember or find for the life of me what it is referencing.
Yeah, I'm sure if you Google like Russian cult, you're just gonna get a lot of things.
Yeah, I've tried. I got a list of the things the Russian government deems to be a cult, which is
right.
hit and miss.
Yeah, mostly miss, I feel like, but yeah.
I mean, they list pagan cults as a very broad category, and I feel like there's some stuff in there that's just some people doing ancestral practices that are pretty normal. Of
all the things over the years to get nerfed in my head, it's paganism. What I mean is, like, when you're a kid, you hear about pagans and you think like, oh, they're doing cool stuff. Yeah. And eventually I had a roommate who was a pagan,
especially
and I was just like,
American paganism, which is entirely reconstructed.
Yeah, it's just nerd shit.
Yeah, it's just nerd shit. It's
all religion. It's nerd shit.
Yeah, it's just rituals. It's fine. It's benign, but, you know.
That's what I mean. It's too benign.
I was too
just
benign,
like,
yes.
You can't bring anybody back from the dead. All right. But yeah, this is like, so it starts this way with a series of what looks like fucking snuff films.
Yes.
They're like VHS films of like, and you don't really know what you're seeing. There's a dude in his underwear, which when you think about it, after watching this movie, that guy didn't need to be in his underwear.
No, he didn't.
He just wanted to be there.
He wanted to be there in his underwear. You get this. He may be the leader. And that's why he's in his underwear. It's another assertion of power.
Yeah. But
much like podcasting with just a bra.
Yeah, exactly. It is a power move.
Yeah.
You're referring to the bra I'm wearing right now, of course.
Yes.
So there's a series of these films that are like, they're instruction films, is what they learned. What we realize is Laura is watching them, and they're an instruction on how to resurrect someone. And it's, sure enough, it takes a few extra bodies, is the idea, right? Is it seems like you have the corpse, you allow some sort of demon,
or rather
to invade another body.
Yeah. It almost seemed like the other body or rather the other child she has, was kind of a blank slate. He was kind of a feral animal until she was ready for him to be a vessel for something.
He's under a thrall of
He's
some
under
sort.
some sort of thrall. Yeah.
Because she has this chalk outline around. They do a good job, I thought, where it's like you kind of know the rules. You don't necessarily know why.
Yeah.
So like there's a chalk outline around the house, and then if Ollie crosses it, he starts to scream and convulse. And what we learn is he snaps out of it.
Yeah.
When he crosses the line. So like it looks painful, but then it's like whatever is the thrall or demon controlling him is leaving him.
Yeah, it's the pain of realizing what the last however many 10 years of his life have been.
I don't think it's 10 years because he's only like 10, right?
No,
he's a missing child.
He's a missing child, but the poster says missing for 10 years. I think he's just malnourished.
Oh, so man, okay.
Given that, like,
okay, so he's probably like a teenager.
She asks him, "You're hungry, right? You got to wait a little longer."
Right,
she locks him in his room. He tries to eat various things that are very much alive.
Yeah, including his own arm. That was difficult. That was a difficult scene to watch.
Trying to eat the cat as well was difficult to watch.
Yeah, if you're wondering, the cat in this makes it out, I believe.
The cat makes it out, I believe, almost at a moment when she starts to unravel. It's like the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, the cat also seems generally indifferent and annoyed at best.
Well, which is
I wanted to
pretty accurate.
I did want to talk about that because this movie surprisingly has a save the cat, a literal save the cat, because Ollie is sinister when you don't know what he is, and so he keeps. What we see is he keeps grabbing the cat and holding the cat, and the cat's scratching up his arms.
Yeah,
but what I noticed is
the cat is bleeding because of him. Yeah,
right. But the cat makes it out. The cat seems all right. It seems like he doesn't. It seems like he's like fighting the will to eat the cat. Like he doesn't want to eat the cat. He's just really hungry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where they were almost trying to make Ollie seem like there's something good in him. He's not. Like, you can tell he's fighting something.
Yeah, and you can tell this before you know that he is this kidnapped child. And that's what kind of set off my phobia. We went into this blind because we meant to see Friendship, and my biggest kind of weird horror movie phobia is people changing physically against their will, and self-mutilation counts.
So I realize their other film, Talk to Me, does have one scene of this, and this seems to be a theme they have. And so Talk to Me is very good, but it's less intense than this. But this triggered my phobia of watching fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's also sadder than you expect.
It is. So like this, there's a scene, and everybody, if you've already watched it, you already know the fucking scene we're thinking about, which is the knife scene.
Oh, God.
That scene was devastating. So basically, Ollie is this weird feral kid. Mm-hmm. He doesn't speak. He writes his last name at one point, which is Bird, so you don't really know what it means.
You don't know. No, you think he's referring to the animal. And that does kind of show us before we know that he is this kidnapped child named Connor Bird, that there's something in him that is not willing, and then immediately after that he bites onto a knife and just starts mutilating his teeth and mouth.
Gnawing the end of it. Yeah, like just really just prying open his own teeth with the knife.
Yeah.
And then and then his teeth are all gnarled, and he keeps biting other things with it. Like the wooden fucking...
The table. Oh, God.
And it's just really hard to watch.
The Foley artist for this film...
yes.
The crunching and squelching.
The very first sound of the movie, it's black, and you hear a chalk circle being made, and we're watching in a theater with surround sound. They did a really good job where you hear the circle around you in the surround sound,
Yeah.
But the circle sounds kind of squelchy. Even the chalk on basement floor, all the sound design in this is just
haunting.
It's really good. This is the thing, like this movie, it's this
at some
thick
point
dread.
towards the end, I think you hear Laura only in a corner of the room. And it's so eerie.
We also hear Andy call. So this is okay. I want to talk about this.
Yes,
because there is another thread throughout. So this movie it's supernatural again.
Yeah,
but a lot of it doesn't. We haven't even talked about Laura.
Yeah, and it is more or less from Andy's perspective up to a point.
Yeah, it's very gaslighty. But there's a part. So Andy starts by having this fear of like he has a trauma. He found his father dead in the shower and gave mouth to mouth, and it's very visceral and horrifying. And so he can't take a shower. He's having trouble with showers and rain and like just, and he also reveals later that his dad beat him, and his dad, I think, used to run the shower so that his sister, like there's this running theme of like his dad beat him and kept that from his sister.
Yeah.
And this idea of like, he got a different version of their dad. So to her, he was an angel.
To him,
he was a bastard.
She plays music very, very loudly when they first walk in, and the next time she's playing music, she is torturing a child.
Right. Yes. And that's the thing. Like, there's this theme around Piper, who's blind, having to be like protected,
being coddled.
From the world.
Yeah. The siblings have this word. Grapefruit, which basically means no bullshit. I'm not lying to you.
Right. And he even takes advantage of that word.
He does sometimes. He does coddle her. Her brother.
Right, at the very beginning,
and
she's
he does
getting bullied.
coddle her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting mocked by other teen girls that she's trying to be friends with. And he just says, like, no, they were cool. They were nice.
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't tell her.
Yeah, it's kind of sowing the seeds of mistrust in Piper. Because she knows she's not a dumb kid. She just can't see.
Right, and she might be trusting. And there's a great through line where he does that to her, and then Laura picks up on it and does it too. Yes, ands the coddling.
Yeah.
And you realize, but she starts doing it more and more insidiously.
Yeah, for sinister purposes. I mean, the fact that she can't see Ollie is
exactly
very helpful to her, and the fact that Andy can is very much a part of the gaslighting.
And Andy starts it. She says, "What does Ollie look like?" And Andy's like, "Oh, he's got adorable curly red hair, and Ollie has a shaved head." And Laura yes ands it, and like, or he says like he's got a great smile. They make up what Ollie looks like, and at first Andy's doing it again to protect Piper from this kid who looks kind of scary, and Laura's doing it because it's actually better that way.
Yeah,
because,
it helps her out.
And so they're definitely saying something about that, about like coddling and lying to children in the sense of trying to protect them from reality and what that does and if it puts them in danger. Because like later, like Piper doesn't know and has to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes, spoilers, Andy's corpse, which was very shocking. I thought, Andy, the main character, dies in this.
You enter this film thinking it's Ollie who's going to die and the cat.
Yeah, you really think the cat's going to die, and I was like, every scene with the cat, I'm like, fuck, here it comes.
Yeah, we have cats. So it's
but then Piper kind of represents the cat in a weird way too, where it's like this thing that feels defenseless. Ultimately, they do a good job with, this is just good writing where it's just Piper and Laura, and you're like, fuck, of course it would end just Piper and Laura.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
Yeah.
Like, it's the scariest situation for her.
And like the cat, Piper escapes that chalk border and seemingly defenseless gets out.
Yeah, I want to talk about how Piper gets away, but I guess what the other thread I want to talk about real quick was on the Andy shower stuff. At one point, he sees his dead father.
Yes.
He's in the shower, and his dead father's zombie corpse comes to him, and it can barely talk, and it gets out some words saying basically Piper's in danger because of the rain or something like that. Later, when Piper gets home, she hears Andy call her after Andy has been killed.
Yes.
So what's
Ollie.
going on there? Is that Ollie?
That is Ollie being a vessel, yes.
So Ollie is like some sort of soul eater or something, is the idea.
That's what she has made him into, a vessel for the dead.
Right, because she also feeds him their dead father's hair at one point.
Yes, that's why he sees his dead father's corpse, because she has created that to basically create what Andy and everyone around him believes is a psychotic break.
Right. So yeah, Oliver is like...
Even if she hadn't done that supernaturally, the thing is, everything that's done supernaturally could be done with old-fashioned abuse.
Good old-fashioned abuse.
And
yep.
This is part of it, where, like, the stress that Andy is under and the fact that he gets a concussion just from his fear of the shower could have been enough to induce a psychotic break at this point in his life, or some sort of episode.
Again, it's very... Most of the tension from this is the ghost going to pop out? So, like, the probably for me, one of the most harrowing scenes was the fucking funeral. So Laura brings them to their dad's funeral.
And this isn't supernatural at all.
Right. And did you notice, like, the gaslighting, for example... she'll make Andy comfortable enough to confide in her.
Yes.
And then she'll turn around and say
against
that
him.
Stuff. She was fucking... There's this thing they do, my God, where Andy wakes up and he's wet the bed.
Yeah.
And so that's a setup where he's wetting the bed, and it's like, okay, so he's going through some issues.
Yeah.
So then they go to the funeral, and Laura is like, a nightmare at the funeral. She makes him kiss his own dead father's corpse on the mouth.
Yep.
She says, like, you need to look at him. And then when he doesn't, she, like, passive aggressively reveals to Piper that he didn't look at his father because he told Piper, she was like, how does my dad look? And he was like, it's good. He looks good.
Grapefruit.
But it's like, this kid, he doesn't want to look at his dead abusive father. So she reveals his lie to Piper, so he has to go back in and look at him, and she makes him kiss his dead father, and then she's like, "You should kiss him."
Well, Piper's outside,
yeah, and he refuses, and she kisses him on the mouth, also steals some of his hair, and then on the way home, she's like, "We should do something fun, like we should sell, like she's like." Acts like a wolf, kind of. She's like,
funerals
death
are supposed to be
bad.
a celebration.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, which seems not insidious.
Right. And then she's like, Andy, what do you like to do for fun? And he's like, get drunk. And she's like, all right. And so you get this impression that she's like trying to be cool and reach out to them.
Yeah.
And like, she's like, let's go drink a little bit. But then that clearly goes out of control where it's like, this woman should not be doing this.
Yeah, like Andy's 17, I imagine the drink, and 3 months from 18, I imagine the drinking age in Australia is like it is everywhere else, 18.
Yeah, the drinking age in other countries, to me, having gone to other countries, seems to be just be cool about it.
Yeah, it tends to be like if you're doing it in your home, which this now is, and you're close to 18, that's fine.
Even at the bars, it was like when I went to like Montreal, I was underage for drinking, and the drinking age was literally just don't be an asshole, which was also the drinking age in Florida, by the way, which is like,
I don't know if it is now, but yeah.
Yeah, at the time, the moment you started acting like an asshole, they'd go, I'm going to need to see some ID. But before that point, they're just going to let it slide.
Here they're really strict about it, but here there's also no way to get around but driving, so I understand.
Oh, Massachusetts was strict as hell, too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
in Western Mass, same deal. It's hard to get around without driving.
I used to buy beer in Florida, and I was 20 for the record. I was 1 year away, where I'd put the beer down and the guy would look at me and go like, you have ID? And I'd go, no. And he's like, I don't think you're 21. And I'd be like, I am. And he's like, I don't think so. And then he'd ring up the beer and give it to me and just go like, I don't think you're 21. And it's like, all right, bye. Like they did. It was Yeah.
He
That was
did
the
his
best thing about
job.
Florida.
Yeah, he did his job. That's all
Anyway.
that matters.
So, like, you get that impression from Laura where it's like you already know she's fucked up, but you can see how, if you were a teenager, this wouldn't feel like predatory at first.
And it does to Andy the moment he allows Piper to drink, because Piper is 12.
And he starts being like, just one. And Laura kind of keeps pushing it.
Yes.
Of like, he goes like, last one. She goes,
And
first
he's already
one.
pretty tipsy. So, yeah, he goes along with it because he's having fun. They're dancing around.
Right. And he actually thanks her for that evening.
Yeah.
But you feel uncomfortable because you know, if you're an adult watching this,
Yes.
you know she shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
This is weird.
This
is
weird.
Predatory.
It is weird. It's one thing if, like, you allow a 17-year-old to have one glass of wine in your house, or like turn the other way when
Or if it's
they're
like a kid and
having
his
their
friends or
own
something.
party.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to drink with them
And like party with them and dance with them.
and then
and
adding in a 12-year-old
yeah.
is
And then it's all punctuated by, after Andy is passed out, Laura goes to the bathroom, pees in a cup, and pours it on his pants.
Yep.
And you realize the reveal is she's been pissing his pants for him.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Which, if you, Laura's background is very insidious as well. And if you worked at CPS, you know that wetting the bed is a very telltale sign of a troubled child.
Right. That's what you later, because they do a good job.
So is
like,
animal mutilation, but no one else is seeing Ollie except Andy. No one is allowed to see. Ollie is locked in his room.
Yes, they do a really good job. Sally Hawkins is killing it.
She is.
It's
She's so good.
Because all you really know is Laura is a counselor at first, and she does seem a little weird. She has a stuffed dog, which foreshadows the entire fucking movie when you think about it.
Yes.
Where her dog died and she stuffed it and kept it.
Yes.
And talks to it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for the record, I am not against with our beloved pets, but it's weird, and I wouldn't necessarily leave them out when children were coming over.
They're also, for the record, they're not reinventing the wheel here, because if you recall a movie called Psycho, the entire thing was Norman Bates has stuffed birds and animals.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the reveal of that is the same as this.
Yes.
Where it's like, what if you also preserved a person?
Yes.
But so she seems like you kind of know, because of the movie you're watching, like she's probably not good. It would be a hell of a twist if she was the good guy, you know? But then she's a counselor, and then slowly, like she's gaslighting him, basically.
Yeah. Once
Andy
he's
had a
tipsy
troubled
and
past.
comfortable enough, he reveals all this to her.
Yeah. And he reveals his abuse, and she starts using it. And then there's this whole thing of like, Andy knows that like he had a troubled past, and Laura, it's his word against hers.
Yeah.
And essentially she's using that against him. This idea of like, at any point I could say, you're bad.
Yeah.
And she even punches Piper in her sleep, which was fucked.
Yeah. I mean, the history of this is the reason that they want to split up the kids in the first place. The first meeting with the CP, or whatever the Australian equivalent of CPS is.
Yeah.
With the child welfare woman, she wants to split them up because Laura has had quote unquote trouble with troubled children,
Right.
and Andy once punched Piper in the face.
Right.
When he
And
was
so
8.
Laura's been, yeah, but
Which
Laura's
is,
using
you
all
know,
this.
far off from 17.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
far off in terms of your awareness of you know, one-digit siblings punch each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so Laura fucking nails Piper in the face while she's sleeping, and then
Wearing
acts like she
Andy's
doesn't know
cologne.
what happened. Right. Yeah. So basically she's trying to slowly gaslight and set up Andy as like it's like you said, where eventually she's like, I'm going to have to probably kill Andy.
Yeah.
But she's sort of, you can also get the impression that Laura's making it up as she goes along a little bit.
Yes.
Like, and when Andy goes back to Child Protective Services and basically goes to the cops, once he's like, okay, Oliver is like stabbing himself. She's not bringing Oliver. Like, once he realized like she's not bringing him to the hospital,
That's
She
it
is-
for him. He drives there and he finds a poster of this child named Connor Bird, who is Ollie.
Yeah, and so it's like at this point, Andy's like, oh, I got this. I got it in the bag here. I just have to fucking get somebody to this house. And that's when you get the reveal from the child protective person going, Andy, you got to understand, Laura was our best employee for like 20 years, 30 years.
Which is
And so
probably
you
how she got to
realize-
Connor in the first place.
Exactly. You realize that she knows exactly how to manipulate everything that's happening
Yeah.
and how insidious she truly is. And with Connor, is the real name's Connor, with Ollie.
Yeah, she calls him Ollie because that's the name of her nephew. And it's believable that
Right.
she has her nephew over.
It's also really insidious when you realize that she just needs a vessel, and she chose a child, probably because it's easier to control a child, but also because from her job, she has that access.
And the
to
child
this.
has been deemed legally missing for for however long when she picked him up. She knows that this, like, people aren't after this child anymore.
Right. Yeah. And she just knows the game exactly and is using it to to resurrect her kid.
The
But I
ages
guess-
of children in this film is a little weird because Connor's been missing for 10 years. Ollie looks like Connor's picture. And
Right.
I guess I just took that as malnutrition, as severe malnutrition.
I don't know. I think I have to watch it again for a few. I'm not great at little details like that in movies where
And it could be that she made him a vessel at that age, and that's all he is for a while.
yeah, I don't know how it works. I mean, they tell you just enough.
Yes.
But there is a lot of like you said at the start of this that you had a lot of questions that you don't think the movie was supposed to be asking, or you weren't supposed to be asking.
Yeah. I struggled with a couple scenes wondering if she's in some of those tapes.
Yeah.
Because
I'll tell you my read on it.
yeah.
Well, no, it's finished. Sorry.
There's a scene where I could swear she's in one of those tapes, and I could swear that maybe her daughter is in one of those tapes. We don't really know what her daughter... We see her daughter's back. We see her face at the end of the movie, in which she does not look 12. We see her corpse,
Well,
in which she
she's
is
a corpse.
taller than a... No, we see a flashback. We see her face
Oh.
at the very end in a flashback in which she does not look 12.
So I'll tell you my read on this because my read was very straightforward, and it's possible that I missed something.
And it's possible that I'm over embellishing and misremembering.
Yeah, because my read on it was that Laura is a lady who has trouble letting go from the start. She probably wasn't great when she had a daughter. She was probably a fucking weirdo.
Yes.
But then her daughter drowned in the pool, as she says, and Laura snapped. She somehow found these tapes promising resurrection, because there's a part with the social worker where she tries to beg her and says, like, I didn't think it was going to work, but it worked. And again, you get this impression like she ends up hitting Andy and the social worker with her car because she hasn't planned anything.
No.
Like they literally, I thought it was very interesting. Like,
She gets a phone call from having stolen Piper's phone while she's at some sort of sports thing. And
she reminds me.
and she realizes that Andy is coming with someone from her job.
Right, and it like she doesn't realize fast enough. I think
Yeah,
what's
she
interesting
starts
about
frantically
Laura,
cleaning and then putting a towel on her head, pretending she had just showered. And it's she hides Ollie in the freezer with her dead daughter.
with her dead daughter corpse that she's keeping, because the idea is Ollie has to eat the corpse in order to transfer the body, their soul.
Yes.
But the impression I got was someone who isn't meticulous, who is kind of on a tear,
Yes.
and was going to get caught.
Yes.
Meaning like I don't know if you've seen the movie. This is a weird one, Foxcatcher, which is about a
I
true
have.
story.
Yes.
Like that kind of attitude, which is someone who's not. They're kind of. Like specifically the end, and I won't spoil Foxcatcher, where you people probably
Someone
understand.
who's cocky and has never been questioned.
or not even not even
even
it's a
cocky
combination of that.
necessarily, but someone who has never been questioned.
Or like the ending of American Psycho, where he starts just going on a spree. Like it's a spree attitude, where it's like, oh, she's
Yes.
going to get taken out.
At a
like
certain
she doesn't
point,
even care anymore.
Andy is an unknown denominator and makes this.
Right,
But it was
and
going to happen, and you
moment
get the
Andy-
sense it was going to happen. The cat gets out, things like that. You get the sense that this was going to happen.
The cat getting out is a metaphor for it. Like Laura doesn't, it's really funny. She's not type A enough to kidnap children. She just isn't. Kidnapping children it's not her thing.
She's very psychologically attuned. She's very good at manipulating and abusing children.
But she doesn't have her house in order enough to kidnap and maintain these children.
No, she
And
doesn't. She's not ready for a real inquiry. She just has never had to deal with that, which is commentary as well, I think.
Yeah, because what works with her fucking character that's so scary, though, is that she doesn't have it together, but you know that she's going to take out a lot of people before she gets taken out.
Yes.
Is essentially it. Where she's the moment this child protective worker goes in that house, you're like, well, she's dead.
Yeah.
That lady is going to be murdered.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she gets hit with the car, and so does Andy, and then she kills Andy, and that's a surprise.
And that's also when Andy gets a concussion from slipping in the shower and seeing the corpse of his dead father, which is, I guess, Ollie being a vessel, or Connor, whatever we want to call him. He slips, he hits his head, and she sees him in the hospital and
oh yeah,
talks about her dad. Talks about his dad. Sorry, saying, "I understand why this happened. Your dad drowned in the shower, just like you will do." What? I see why this happened. Your dad drowned in the shower.
I thought she said that she killed his dad. I couldn't tell. Yeah, all right.
No,
I thought
she was. I thought she was implying
that she's going to drown.
That she's going to drown.
She definitely
Which
slipped
she
something
does
in there.
After he gets hit by a car, she turns her face downwards into a puddle.
And so like, it's all to say that like, so she's
the water is very much a part of this.
Oh yeah.
Her daughter drowned. She's checking the weather, waiting for heavy rain to fill this empty pool.
Yep. Yeah, the title is Underwater. There's a lot of water stuff.
Yeah.
Sally Hawkins loves water stuff. She loves water cuddling because there's water cuddling in this too.
There is.
Because she so you get it's like she has a plan, but not like she's kind of doing the Joker here.
Yeah, she doesn't have a plan for getting caught because who wouldn't believe her? She's dealing with children all the time.
Right. And so like, and then she's messing with forces she doesn't understand. Like that's why I didn't think she was in the tapes.
Yeah.
Is because I didn't get the impression that she fully understood the ritual she was doing. Like she knew what was in the tapes.
I think that they were splicing in tapes of hers with tapes of the cult.
Definitely that. She was watching home movies as well.
There's a point in which I think I confused tapes that she had with Ollie from
maybe
with tapes from the cult.
Right.
I think that's what happened.
But what I thought was surprising about Laura is like how sad she ends up being.
Yeah.
Like, and so this is the part where it's like, I like the gradients they're laying down here because you don't feel bad for her.
No.
She did awful things. But like where the movie ends up is, I got to give this movie credit because maybe it's because I saw their previous movie. Did you feel this too? This didn't feel like a movie. I think it's once Andy died where you realize like, I had that feeling where I was like, I'm not sure this is going to work out.
Yeah.
Like where it's hard for movies to do this because you know they're movies, but there was a point where you feel like this is going to go really, really bad for everybody.
Yeah. You get very scared for Piper the second her protector is gone. You're scared for Piper throughout, but
the rules of the movie, it felt like I was like, this is the type of movie where they could go any way they want with it.
yeah.
And I appreciate
you
that.
kind of know the plan of the movie from the start, which part of me wishes they took a while to reveal, and part of me kind of doesn't care once the ending came around.
Yeah. For a while, I thought maybe she was going to succeed, Laura, in
Yes.
resurrecting her daughter.
It seems like she is.
It seems
She gets
so,
very close.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be ambiguous, maybe, but I don't think it is. Which is that so this is again, my read is Laura was on this huge tear and she didn't handle this, and she goes, so basically it's Piper and Laura alone in this house filled with fucking blood and corpses, and like Laura says, I'm gonna drown you in the pool now, love.
Yes.
Like, oh fuck.
So
Piper,
casually, and she's smiling.
yeah,
Piper can't see that she's smiling, but she can hear the tone. Like, she's
and
not.
she keeps
Piper has been so overprotected, but she is a smart child.
Yeah. And Laura keeps explaining. I love how she does this to the child protective person too, where she's like, "No, you don't understand. This is great." Like she's trying to explain to Piper, like, "No, you're gonna love it."
Yeah.
I discovered something, and you're gonna be a part of it. But like, so she gets Piper into the pool and basically is drowning her. And you really, in that moment, I was like, I don't fucking know, because Ollie is outside and he's ready to eject the soul or whatever. And then Piper says to her, "Mommy."
Yeah.
And it breaks Laura, and she just she kind of, like, I know Laura, like, or Piper scratches her and stuff, but it feels like Laura just loses steam is the idea.
Yeah, I think, and it is ambiguous as to whether or not that worked for a second, and then Piper steps out of the circle and runs because maybe she wasn't great to her daughter either. We do see footage of her daughter in the pool saying "mommy," and she does have a tiny cut on her cheek.
I don't think it doesn't seem like the transfer complete because Ollie throws up
Yeah.
and leaves. So I think the idea
So
is
it's
like,
either a momentary thing, or it's Piper improvising better than Laura can handle.
yeah, or just calling out, or like just in the panic. But
Or just
it
in
seems
her
like Laura,
in her like near death place, a lot of people will say "mommy" when they're about
Yeah.
to die. Like that's
my impression was that Laura basically, like, in that moment remembered her daughter and just like can't do it. She
Yeah.
simply can't drown. After all she's done, she just can't drown this girl who reminds her of, like, I think the idea is Piper feels like like, again, her asking Piper, like, do you think you'd want to stay? That's not a question that would matter if she was planning to go through with what she was going to go through with, right? So
Yeah.
I got this impression that Laura was actually having second thoughts here and there,
Yeah.
and like just
And-
likes Piper for who Piper is, basically.
yeah, Piper is close enough to her daughter. And
Yeah.
I did wonder too, like, did Piper run in that moment because her daughter would have run?
Right.
Or did she
Yeah,
run
you don't
because
really
she was
know.
improvising? This is a question I want to be left with. Did she run because she was improvising and she kind of halted Laura in that moment by saying "mommy"?
I think so, because I don't think the transfer was complete, so that's all, like, whatever, I don't know. But yeah,
You
Piper
don't know. I
runs
mean, you're
out.
kind of left wondering if she drowned her daughter.
Right. Oh, that part. I feel like Laura is fucked up enough that it's like, clearly, I don't think you can't put it all on her daughter's death. Where
You
it's like, no,
can't.
this lady was fucked up before her daughter
But
died.
did her daughter's death flip some sort of switch where someone who had the potential to be horrible
Right.
became that? Or was she always this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the movie is sort of leaving it up to us.
Yeah.
But the ending shot, which is gorgeous, is basically Laura cuddling in the pool with her daughter's corpse.
Yeah,
That's all
she takes
fucking
her out of the
half-eaten and
freezer
mangled.
and
Basically gives up on the quest. Basically starts mourning her daughter.
for
and so,
real.
like, yeah,
instead
good for
of-
her.
Yeah,
She got there.
yeah. She's
Cops are there, but
yeah, and this
also
plus
I think she might be dead, Laura, because she like gnashes open her. she has like a wound on her wrist and she like claws it open. So I think the implication is she's also committed suicide.
Well, at some point, the reason Ollie, I think, is eating his wrist is because at some point I think he becomes or no, I guess he's only a vessel for dead people. I don't know what's happening with Ollie.
Ollie is what I would call like the manic pixie horror character, and what I mean by that is you can put a lot of things on a character who's possessed or in a thrall.
Yes.
Where like you don't have to fully
or simply
understand.
A starving child. It like a starving child would eat their own flesh.
I think there are rules to Ollie that we probably didn't entirely
pick up on. Yes,
but I do wish Ollie like spoilers for Get Out real quick. And you know what? I won't even fully spoil Get Out. Get Out has characters behaving weirdly, but you learn that they're behaving that way for a very specific reason.
Yeah,
that isn't like that's like. Seems weird until it's explained. So, for example, the guy running in the yard and he's just doing laps and it seems really weird, and then you learn why later, so on and so forth. I wish there was a little more of that with Ollie, meaning that like I wish there was something very like Ollie seems like, and again, maybe upon other viewings it'll be like, oh, I see now. But Ollie seemed very generic possessed, where it's like, okay, there's clearly something, he's under a thrall. He is some sort of demon or some sort of soul eater or something's in him, but it makes him nonverbal, but he's like clearly something struggling to get out.
Yeah.
But he will comply at times. Like he has sort of a nature.
Yeah.
Like
well, she does this thing where she hypnotizes him with circles
right.
on his forehead or on the window.
As a way to control them.
As a way to control him. And it's used in the tapes as well. It's...
Yeah.
And she does that when he bites her wrist and starts like gnawing at her. And even then, that's actually when Laura breaks with her colleague, the social worker, is when she notices the blood on Laura.
Yeah, and then she starts...
When she could have pinned it on Andy,
no return.
But...
Yeah, she could.
To her, the weight of what
like,
actually happened is too much for her to improvise that at that moment.
Right. Oh no, Andy starts yelling too. So I think it's like it's that moment.
Yeah,
where she's
Andy
like,
starts yelling, "Come over here! Come up!" Because he discovers
Andy finds the corpse.
He finds the corpse in the
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like she realizes
that she's going to figure out either way, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, she's not great at improvising. She's not very
She
meticulous.
is great at improvising with children.
Oh, you're right.
She's great at exploiting the societal the lack of social capital that children have. She's great at using the system, but when the system comes to her house, she's not expecting that. When she's under scrutiny, the way that Andy has been this whole time, she's not expecting that. She's not ready for it.
She's a really good villain. And what in that, like, I think the word I'm looking for is she's pitiful.
Yes.
Like she is where it's like you don't go like, who amongst us wouldn't be like her? It's more of like you understand why she is this way.
Yeah.
You understand what hurt her.
Yes.
But it doesn't justify her actions. So it makes her kind of pathetic and sad while also being absolutely fucking terrifying. And you're like, no, someone has to take care of this lady.
Yeah.
This lady cannot go on.
Yeah.
It's a good combination, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the end, of course, Piper escapes the chalk outline. Ollie escapes the chalk outline and becomes Connor again. And when the house is searched because of Piper flagging down a random car that she can barely see, but she can probably see the shape of. I think at some point, too, in the beginning, she says she can see colors Laura lies
shapes.
about a color. And that's when Piper starts to really panic.
Oh, yeah. She does do that, doesn't she? That's a good. Man.
After finding Andy's corpse, so she's already like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here, and then realizing Laura definitely killed Andy when she lies about a color.
Yeah.
And Laura has been lying this whole time about Andy.
Yeah. Yeah, shit. I didn't even catch that. That's great. I really like this movie. It's funny because like in the end, it's very for a lack of a better word, it's very Hollywood. What I mean is that Piper gets away, Oliver gets away, the bad guy gets got, and the hero ends up being the only one who dies, which is very, when you think about it, as Hollywood as things get, it just never feels like that's how it's going to go. Which I have to really like I'm really impressed. In a lot of it's in the directing, which is like, because the writing is very straightforward, and what I mean is that like the villain is literally watching a series of instructional tapes, just explaining to the audience, here's what's happening.
Yeah. The writing is straightforward, but I also do think it was a good writing instinct to keep most of the film from Andy's perspective, because that is why, both from a written and directing standpoint, because that is why you do not suspect that he's going to be the one to die. Right. Which is, I think, what you were going to get at. Right,
and die unceremoniously
is
part of it. I always have a soft spot when that happens, where it's like he just sort of dies the way a side character might die in a horror movie. Or like,
she drags him to the shower to make it look like he drowned in the shower. Right. But Piper's not supposed to find him.
No, I think I got the impression she was like getting his body out of the way.
Yeah, and also, you know, it's part of the backstory that she knows about. That's probably for subsequent child services. There? Yes, it is. That's for probably subsequent child services visits to see what happened to Wendy, the woman she ran over. Again,
this idea that Andy was abused while the shower ran. And then Andy's body is just plopped in there with the shower. Yeah,
and she knows that about him.
Andy's journey is brutal.
It is.
I think that's Andy. They do a really good job with like Andy's whole story. I think that's what it is you really want things to work out for Andy specifically, because he's having the hardest time.
She switches moods on him on a dime. Like, his temper is so much worse than it is. Like, he's overreacting when he's actually underreacting.
Right. And the idea is Andy, I mean, what it comes down to is Andy is, and this is, I think, this is a common idea, right? This is a common trope, and I assume it's a trope because it exists in real life. He is the whipping boy. Like, he took the brunt of his father's abuse so that his sister didn't.
Yes.
That's a classic idea, right?
Yeah, and that does exist in real life.
Yeah. And it goes all the way to he has to die in the end. He takes the drowning that his sister would have had.
Yeah.
Essentially.
He does.
Yeah.
He does, and that is Laura's intention, but it's absolutely not her intention for Piper to escape.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it is like from the movie, the symbolism in the movie, like there's a whole running thread there, where Andy basically is he's putting himself in front of his sister, essentially.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, she has to go it alone.
And there are flaws in his overprotection that allow Laura to exploit it.
That's I wanted to talk about. Sorry, you reminded me of something. Is Piper has an arc, which is that at the start she seems like she can't make friends, right?
Yeah.
She approaches those girls, she's talking to them, but they're making fun of her, and you kind of can't tell, like, is she naive or what? You know?
Yeah, she seems kind of skeptical of her brother, but she'll believe him.
But then Laura takes her out of the house because she needs her out of the house for dealing with Andy, and takes her to like a youth group to play some sort of sports.
Yeah, it's everyone's got visors. It seems like it's like a blind kid sports league.
Yeah. And what you see is she's actually extremely good at it.
Yeah,
and extremely
aggressive, and extremely good at making friends when she's around people who aren't bigots, who aren't ableist.
Then when she picks her up, she's just sitting with a group of girls.
Yeah.
And the girl, I don't think the other girls are blind. They're just other kids.
I mean, I think they have
group.
some sort of disability, or the sport is just augmented in such a way that she could play it very adeptly and see what's happening in some way because they're all wearing these visors. But perhaps they're all impaired visually in this sport.
Yeah. The point being that you realize that Piper is she is an aggressive person. She can handle herself.
Yes.
And she's perfectly.
I wouldn't say aggressive. Not only is she just assertive, just confident.
Yeah.
Because it's in sports,
Yeah. And she's also popular.
Yeah.
She's kind of she and so it's all to say that Andy coddles her and it's sort of he didn't really need to.
No.
She can handle herself.
That's the one kind of thing that he picked up from his father, not the abuse Laura tries to plant, not the not the violence, but the coddling.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a whole thing about cycles of abuse or what abuse will do to somebody or I don't know. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot
Andy
there where
and
Laura tries to make it seem like he has become his father, and at one point he punches a wall around Laura, which if you know what's going on, that is not an overreaction to punch through a wall.
No, he should. Yeah.
Piper hears it. She just hears it, and then she hears Laura screaming.
Yeah, exactly. Laura keeps...
And this is after Laura has punched Piper in the face, covered in Andy's cologne.
Yeah. Man.
So she's just screaming, Andy, stop it.
Laura, man, she's so good in this. Yeah. What a maniac.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She switches emotions on a dime, which is very, very manipulative abuser thing to do. And she does it in such a way that even you as an audience member, you know it's coming, but you don't expect it to be so strong.
Yeah. Man, these directors, they just we should watch Talk to Me at some point. I don't want to spoil anything about that. But it's all to say, if I ever met these directors, my first question would be how was your childhood? Because I get the feeling, because Talk to Me is also about teenagers not having a good time, and it's less about abuse, but there's this kind of physical abuse from parents, but it's about fucked up childhood stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just that they're clearly liking to explore.
There's also a memorial at the end of this film.
I saw that.
There's a slide. It's dedicated to somebody who lived to 23. It looks like, who did not live a long time.
Yeah, I think maybe these directors. I'm not going to speculate, but I think they probably had an interesting upbringing. I mean,
witnessed interesting things, which I suppose we all did. Everyone has witnessed someone who had a horrifying childhood.
Yeah.
To varying degrees. And obviously the point of Laura is that we often don't witness this.
Right. But I do think this and Talk to Me, the thing they tap into really well, and this isn't new. For example, I would argue a lot of slasher movies will tap into this, which is the powerlessness of being a teenager specifically.
Yeah.
Children in horror movies, you kind of know where the powerlessness comes from, right? Someone like Danny in The Shining.
Physically just weaker.
But this character, Andy, he could take out Laura with one good punch.
He could. I mean, they make a whole plot point of him being a weightlifter.
Yeah. And so like she's using his own strength against him essentially.
He's the same
and
height
using
as her. Like he could,
Yeah.
and is a weightlifter. He could take her out.
Right, and they do a good job at like by the time it comes to that, to the point where Andy would do that, it's too late.
Yeah,
It's essentially like, oh, okay, she got it, she just
I'm
he
running
just
you
doesn't
over
get
with
the
my
opportunity.
car. Yes.
Yeah. But it's which is really really good like white lady weapon.
Yeah, it is.
Like-
The car is a good white lady weapon. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like she Laura Bushes him, which is funny because we were
talked
talking about
Laura
Bush.
Bush afterwards. I'm not sure how we got on the subject.
Maybe it was this.
I don't. Maybe.
I don't know, but a point being that like there's a certain powerlessness to being a teenager that can be tapped into horror, and this does it really well, and so does Talk to Me. And a lot of it is they don't believe you.
It has to
Like-
do with social capital more so than anything. And even like the cult leader in these films is a white male. A
Right.
lot of cult leaders are either white males or at least males. There are obviously female cult leaders, and they can be just as powerful and ruthless. But
Right.
the lack of social capital makes that an uphill battle.
Right. I think it's that combined with the fact that teenagers are flawed.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like
They do.
when she's like,
Yeah.
you want to get drunk? And he's like, yeah, I'll get drunk. Where it's like, if you're an adult, you would know better to be like, no, that you're doing like, it's the fact that Andy doesn't necessarily know enough of the world to know the manipulation happening. Plus, Andy does have teenagers are horny. They have weird faults. They have urges.
They have impulse
anger
control
they can't
issues.
control. Yeah.
And we know that. And
Right.
we can use that against them when it doesn't apply.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like these directors, and I think they wrote it. I think they wrote it with somebody else. They have a very good tapping into like the chaos. Oh yeah, they wrote it with another person who also wrote Talk to Me. So, but they're really good at tapping into that chaos of what it's like to be a teenager and be a work in progress and like dealing with trauma and stuff at that same time. It's
Yeah, and not knowing the full extent of what's normal, what's not normal is a big part of childhood abuse. That's why, like, when I say we all know someone who experienced it, that's because we're adults.
yeah.
We don't
Yeah, exactly.
necessarily know someone who is experiencing it.
The older you get, the more
Or we
fucked
don't
up
know
life
that we
gets.
know. Yes.
Yeah. In general. Yeah, and then on top of the fact that this movie is more visceral in a way that feels like a thriller, like it almost
Yeah.
you almost forget it's supernatural.
You do.
Is like it's definitely, if people are wondering what kind of horror movie this is, I mean, it's weird to listen to. I don't know. It doesn't matter if you like listening to spoilers before you watch a movie, but it's not like Caveat. It's not like it's a little like The Shining actually, but it's not supernatural in the way where you're like, is the ghost gonna creep me out?
Right.
Am I gonna get scared of a doll?
Right.
It's the fear is of other people.
Yes.
And of real violence and of like mutilation, self-mutilation and it's like, even though there's a supernatural element, the fear that you're feeling feels very real.
Yeah.
Because of what the circumstances are.
You could take the supernatural element out, and this would be pretty much the same movie.
Right. Like
only, I mean, Ollie's arc would change slightly, but
you'd have to be like brainwashed
the
or
fact
something.
that he has been starved
Yeah.
kind of makes even the self-mutilation, even eating the table, eating the knife, makes sense.
Right. We're dealing with like real methods of abuse and stuff. And like, it's just interesting because like, I guess it's adjacent to torture horror, which I hate. I hate torture horror because I think it's too easy.
Yeah.
Like Hostel.
Because there's no purpose
Saw.
to it.
Yeah. It's just like, how badly can we make the audience cringe?
Yeah.
And
in this, there's a very clear purpose.
it feels more earned, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not like just as upsetting and gross.
It's more upsetting, I think, because he's doing it to himself.
And it's more upsetting, frankly, that you know there are reasons behind this.
Yeah.
You know that this is not who he is, supernatural or not, because he's been starving.
Yeah. A closer, you know what these directors should do? And I know this series is in good hands, but they should have been given the next Exorcist. Because one of the things The Exorcist, this is very similar to Possession, where the self-harm, where you know there's somebody inside of
there.
that.
Yeah, you know there's someone fighting in the background. And that's, I think, what made it hard for me with like my weird phobia to watch Ollie or Connor, is to watch Ollie, because Connor is in there somewhere. Even before you know that he is Connor, you know that there is a child in there somewhere.
Right, and the Possession just feels like dirtier and more grittier than most demonic possessions. Like the look in his eyes and like the mutilation feels more real. Like one of the things even the original Exorcist does, and I think it's because at the time they just couldn't get away with. They got away with a lot, but they couldn't get away with exactly. Is that Reagan just gets more demonic looking and more like cut up and stuff as the movie goes?
Yes.
The implication is that she's doing it to herself, but you don't really see it.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in new Exorcist movies, sometimes they do this where it's like they just start looking more fucked up, but they don't really take you through the logic of like, no, they are doing that to themselves.
Yeah.
That you don't really see it. Like
with Ollie, even before you know his backstory, you know there's something fighting to get out.
Right. And Ollie looks like a normal boy at the beginning of this, and by the end he looks like a character in The Exorcist. He is cut up, he is fucked up. But what
veiny.
You see is
he's somehow pregnant with another with the soul of the daughter.
Yeah, and you see in way too much detail over time how that happens to him. And that's like missing from a lot of exorcism films, weirdly, where it's like that's kind of the key to those films is like how incredibly like how the demon makes them do terrible things. Like it's in them, but it almost gets yada yada, I feel like, as opposed to this movie.
And I also do think it's a good theme that we put on teenagers for a reason, because they are possessed with self-actualization.
Yeah.
And abusive parents attempt exorcisms because their teenager is becoming their own person.
That's the other thing. This is actually more as an exorcism film, because you could argue this is kind of an exorcism film. It's a more responsible version of that because it circles the abuse that comes from real exorcisms.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't think that there's that it's a coincidence that there's a cult in the background, because that's kind of where that comes from, is a teenager questioning their reality.
Yeah.
That's usually when real life exorcisms happen.
Yeah. Or a kid
or
with
deviating
like
from their culture,
something.
or ableism, or whatever the bigotry of society is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and which is why perhaps you shouldn't make exorcism films based on true stories, because that's weird and exploitative, but that's a different conversation. And that's what I mean is like, this feels like, it's weird to put it this way, a more responsible version of an exorcism film.
Yeah.
That is like, he's possessed by something, but also we're showing like the relationship of abuse here between her and him.
Yeah.
Where it's like he doesn't have to be possessed by anything.
No, the second he gets out of that chalk outline and cops find him lying on the ground mutilated, he can speak and he says his name.
Yeah. He's like,
Connor
get
Bird.
me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Why is my mouth hurt? That is the one saving thing, is that he doesn't seem to have remembered anything. So that's probably good for him, I mean, for his counseling
I
side.
hope he doesn't.
He's going to need some counseling.
Either
but,
way, yeah. I mean,
but it's for the best that he doesn't remember all the stuff.
I couldn't tell if he remembered or not, or if he was just out of a trance.
Yeah, it seemed like when he came out of it the first time, he was like, "Where am I? What's going on?" So, like,
but that could also be just a result of the like weaker self retaking control, and maybe it's in the recesses of his mind, these memories.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm just saying, if I was like a therapist and he was like, I don't remember, maybe I should take like do something to help me remember. I'd be like, you don't need to remember.
Well,
It's
also
fine.
regression therapy is kind of a form of exorcism and kind of a form of abuse, because memories, repressed memories are more like it's more like someone puts a memory in a vault until it's ready, but there's some awareness that it exists. It's not coming out of thin air. And when people go to like a regression hypnotist, like, I don't know, like it is
Mulder?
constantly
Like Agent Fox Mulder?
Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
What about having a quack drill your brain several times? Is that okay? I give you ketamine,
Oh yeah.
and then you witness a murder-suicide. Sorry, go on.
But like regression hypnosis specifically encourages people to make things up, whereas when memories resurface naturally, they were always kind of there waiting, and the person's always kind of aware that they're there. They're just not touching it until some part of their nervous system believes they're ready.
We're going to go on a deviation here, or rather, I'm going to do this.
Go ahead.
But hypnosis in general does feel like people not wanting to miss social cues. I've seen several like stage hypnotists.
Yes.
And it feels like a lot of them rely on people just wanting to be swept up in the fun.
Yes, absolutely. I had my parents hired a hypnotist for my bat mitzvah to entertain people, and I think out of the 6 of us who got hypnotized, 1 girl was affected, and the others were playing along.
Right, amazing to be a bat mitzvah hypnotist. That is a career.
Oh,
but yes.
yeah. No, immediately got bad vibes from the guy, but I was like, look, my parents are trying to keep people entertained. I get it.
That man's a bar mitzvah hypnotist / pickup artist.
Yeah,
that is what he is.
I am.
He has read all of Scott Adams' blogs. Like, that man.
I would not be surprised in the least.
Yeah, he knows about the power of persuasion. Yeah. What, we're talking about a movie?
Yeah.
Hypnotism. Yeah, it does seem like that's what they do. I don't know. I saw one stage magician, hypnotist, and like he had queued up several audience members to have to react every time he says like a word.
Yeah.
And by the end they were like forgetting to do it.
Yeah.
Like there was like a delayed reaction. It's like, okay, well.
I guess the point is the supernatural elements in this movie kind of cloud whether or not our perception of whether or not Connor remembers what happened.
Yeah.
Because those supernatural elements don't need to exist. And if they didn't, we would know for sure that there's some memory there somewhere.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say about this. Do you?
I don't know. I guess I had some questions about the daughter's age that kind of bugged me, and it bugged me whether or not that was supposed to cue me to know something about Laura, because she shows Piper footage of the daughter where she's very much 12, but then there's a flashback at the very end where she looks older than that, and the corpse is a bit taller than that.
It's a lanky corpse.
It's a lanky corpse, and I don't know if that's intentional. 12-year-olds can be tall, but I don't know if any of this was intentional or not. I just don't know. You only see in this flashback, you only see like a tiny brief glimpse of her face. And she looks like she is older than 12, but is this just because you only get a tiny brief glimpse of her face in a certain light, or the actress is older and she's playing 12? I don't know.
Well, we can watch it again.
We can.
That'll be fun. I do like this movie, and I'm like, I'd watch it again, but it is a tough watch.
It's intense.
And that is a compliment. Yeah, that's good. We could go to the Chocolate Emporium again. We could make a date out of it. Go see it again in theaters.
Why don't we see it in the comfort of our own bed?
Okay,
and hold our cats close.
Aww. We're going to stuff those cats. Oh, my God. I think we talked about this. I want to stuff Kitten in the attacking position, like a bear that I shot.
That's how how we will remember her anyway.
That's true.
That just makes sense for her personality.
I would want to do that so that when people ask about it, I'd be like, oh, yeah, that thing came right at me. Got it. Got it good. For reference, we have two cats, one of whom is 20 pounds. Kitten oscillates between 9 and 7. Yes. It's also, according to the email I just got from our vet, it is, as of today, Kitten's birthday, which is not an exact birthday, but yeah.
No,
everybody
we don't know their exact birthdays.
Happy birthday.
But happy 15th?
15th. Yeah, say almost the age of the teen in this. Almost, not quite.
Yeah.
A couple more years, and she'll be able to drive. We've been talking about doing a quinceañera for her.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
she'd love this movie.
Oh, yeah.
She shares a lot of similarities to Ollie. We should.
She does seem to pay more attention when there's horror on.
Yeah. She has a general horror inside of her, general darkness. But we could probably get out of here.
Yeah.
Hana, thank you so much. Do you want to do the pluggies again here at the end? Pluggy plugs? Pluggy?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I guess my personal socials are just my name, HANAMICHELS. I'm particularly active on Blue Sky. And you can I'll probably be like cross-posting everything for my job stuff on there. So, and occasionally reapproaching Twitter just because I had a lot of people there and sometimes I need gig work. So I can't delete it, which sucks.
Yep. Yeah. We're still technically on Twitter, but
it we really shouldn't be just for our data, but I guess it's already compromised for everybody, no matter what.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's true. They know all.
Hey,
my
everybody, get the progressive olds in your life to stop signing petitions and signing up for the protests they plan to be at.
Yeah. Teach them discretion. Teach your olds discretion.
I don't know, maybe send a chain email or something, or like a Facebook, like pass it on post. They love those.
That's a good tip. I'm going to plug our Patreon real quick. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULLY, unemployed. We have exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys, Himboos, our brand new Supernatural podcast where we watch Supernatural and we talk about that. So check all that out. Check out our merch store, gamefullyunemployed.com. That's all. That's all we have to do. And if you kidnap a kid, just,
feed them.
Feed them and like look into it more. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna say, don't kidnap a kid.
Yeah. I think that's a safe. I mean,
too much trouble.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like
kids are awful.
Kids are
like I don't know why you'd want one.
You can literally get a kid through legitimate means if you can't biologically have one. Why would you kidnap? Why? Our cats are exhausting.
Oh yeah,
too much.
Yeah, kids are a renewable resource.
Yes.
So like you can have a lot of them if you choose to.
Yeah, and
that's a labor force.
Like our cats, you can just find them.
Yeah,
people
I think
throw
that's
them out
again. I think we're going back to kidnapping.
Oh, we are. You're right.
Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as the Corlew, or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at artnessbyjustinbrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at starlenearts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.